Usually when we talk about a medical diagnosis, there's this expectation of absolute precision.
Oh, sure.
It's like engineering. Like you break your arm, the x-ray shows that jagged white line on the bone, and the doctor just points at the film and says, there it is. That's the problem.
Right. I mean, it's binary. It's measurable.
Exactly. Broken or not broken, it's clean.
And it's comforting, too, because as humans, we desperately like things to be visible. We like them to be easily categorized and boxed up.
Yeah, we love a good label. But then you step into the most fundamental, terrifyingly huge question a human being can possibly ask.
The big one.
The big one. The question of, who am I? And suddenly that reliable x-ray machine is just, well, it's completely broken.
Yeah, it doesn't work at all.
Right. We're looking at a diagnostic landscape of human identity that is, honestly, it's murky. It never quite holds up under scrutiny.
It really doesn't.
So to figure out why our inner x-ray machine is broken, we are looking at a really fascinating stack of sources for today's deep dive. We are essentially pitting ancient logic against modern biology.
Which is such a cool framing.
It is. We're looking at the centuries-old Advaita Vedanta teachings of Swami Paramarthananda, and we're colliding them with these incredibly thought-provoking modern blog commentaries.
Right, the ones that use, like, embryology and sacred geometry.
Exactly. Embryology, sacred geometry, and non-dual philosophy to try and basically map the soul.
It's a brilliant combination, honestly, because you have this ancient, razor-sharp, logical framework meeting very modern, poetic, scientific metaphors, but both are pointing at the exact same truth about what we fundamentally are.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because right out of the gate, the traditional sources completely dismantle the very I that you and I use every single day.
They tear it right down.
Yeah, we walk around constantly saying, I am a student, or I am a parent, or, I am exhausted. But the text calls these incidental attributes. They're just costumes we wear.
Exactly. Vedanta uses this profound analytical process called neti.
Nice, neti.
Right, which translates to not this, not this. It's a methodology of negation.
Okay.
The logic is incredibly straightforward. If you can observe something changing, or, if you can step out of a role, that role cannot be your essential unchanging nature.
Like taking off a coat.
Precisely. Let's look at the 3 states of experience we all go through every single 24-hour cycle. You've got waking, dreaming, and deep sleep.
Okay, tracking with you.
So you might fiercely identify as the waker right now. You are listening to this deep dive. You are engaging with the world. You have a name, a bank account, a whole history.
Right, the biodata.
Exactly, the biodata. But the moment your head hits the pillow and you slip into a dream, wakerhood is dropped entirely. You become the dreamer.
Oh, wow.
You might be flying or running from a monster, and in that moment, the waking world does not exist for you at all.
And then in deep sleep, even the dreamer vanishes. The flying stops, the monsters are gone, and there's just silence. So, since you are the underlying constant who successfully transitions through all 3 of those states, you cannot actually be any one of them exclusively.
That is the pivotal realization. You are the thread stringing those 3 beads together.
That is a wild shift in perspective, though. I mean, it means even the active roles we pride ourselves on.
The things we really cling to.
Right. Being the doer of a great action, or the enjoyer of an amazing meal, or the knower of a fascinating fact. What the text calls karta, bhokta, and jnata.
Yes. The doer, enjoyer, knower.
It says those aren't actually you. The text argues they are relational roles born from what the tradition calls ahamkara, which translates to the ego. It's like a fake I created by mistaking the instrument for the user. We confuse the steering wheel for the driver.
That's a perfect way to phrase it. The body and the mind are the medium for transaction in the world. They are vital, incredible tools, but they are not the user.
But wait, this brings up a really popular idea from our modern blog sources, and I want to see how these 2 paradigms clash.
Okay, let's hear it.
The modern commentary argues you are a verb, not a noun, meaning you aren't a static, fleshy object. You are a dynamic, ever-flowing process of selfing.
Right, selfing is a verb.
Yeah, but I have to push back on this slightly. If I am supposed to view my core identity as a constant process or a verb, isn't that just creating another exhausting identity for you to maintain?
How do you mean?
Well, it sounds like spiritual cardio. Like, if I'm always verbing, I'm always working.
What's fascinating here is how the Vedāntic tradition actually corrects that exact modern misconception.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, the blog uses verb beautifully to negate the idea that you are a static physical noun. like a biological robot.
Right. It gets you out of the meat suit mentality.
Exactly. It gets you out of the trap of thinking you are just a hunk of meat. But the ultimate truth in Vedanta is that the true self is actually actionless.
Actionless.
Yes. The Sanskrit term is akartā, the non-doer. You are not the verb. You are the silent, unchanging substratum. The adhisthana upon which all verbs, all actions actually play out.
Oh, I see. So I am the movie screen, not the movie playing on the screen.
Precisely. Think about a cinema screen. It can show a terrifying horror film with explosions and monsters, or, it can show a peaceful romantic comedy.
But the screen doesn't care.
Right. The screen doesn't do the car chase, it doesn't get burned by the fire on the film, and it doesn't get wet from the rain in the scene. It just silently, unconditionally allows the action to happen.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
If you were a verb, you would be subject to starting, stopping, and exhausting yourself, exactly as you pointed out with the spiritual cardio thing.
Right, I'd get tired.
Exactly. But as the actionless substratum, you are fundamentally untouched by the exhaustive activity of living.
Okay, if I'm the screen, or the unchanging background, what exactly is the nature of this background? To really get a grip on this, our sources use this brilliant, sprawling metaphor about water.
Oh, the classic metaphor of the whirlpool and the river.
Yes.
This is arguably one of the most vital analogies in all of non-duality for understanding how the massive macro-universe and the tiny micro-individual relate to consciousness.
Let's break that down visually for the listener. Imagine you are standing on the bank of a raging river. The metaphor, you, the individual, the Jīva, are a whirlpool spinning in that river.
Okay.
And the river itself, the source, or Brahman, is the flowing water. Now, from the outside, the whirlpool looks like it has its own distinct boundary. It has its own shape, its own speed, its own identity.
It looks like a separate object.
Right, but it's just a temporary pattern. It's what Vedanta calls nāma-rūpa, which literally means name and form. It's just a name and a form temporarily imposed on the water.
Right, and think about the psychology of a whirlpool.
Okay, play along.
If a whirlpool had a mind, its greatest terror would be that it will one day spin out, flatten, and disappear. It fears death. It fears losing its borders.
Because it thinks it's just the spin.
Exactly. But the moment the whirlpool shifts its perspective and realizes, wait a minute, I am not this fragile spinning shape, I am the water itself, the fear of dissolution vanishes entirely.
Because the water can't be destroyed.
Right. Even the river itself is just water in motion. The substance never changes.
And what absolutely blew my mind in the modern blog sources is how they zoom all the way into the biological micro level of this whirlpool concept.
Oh, the embryology stuff.
Yes. They describe the human embryonic form as Om written in flesh. They literally map how the human heart forms in utero as a helical space-time event. It twists into existence like a biological vortex.
It's a highly poetic, scientifically grounded way of looking at a fractal reality. Nature repeats its patterns.
Right, from the macro to the micro.
Exactly. From the smallest atom, which is essentially a micro whirlpool of localized energy, to the twisting vortex of a human heart, to hurricanes and weather systems, all the way up to a spinning spiral galaxy.
They're all nested whirlpools.
Yes. They are all temporary structural patterns, nāma-rūpa, manifesting in the exact same singular non-dual river of consciousness.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though, because I want to challenge that poetic, mystical idea of the heart.
Let's do it.
Modern science looks at the human heart and says, look, it's an industrial pump. It's meat, valves, and electricity. That's it.
Sure.
Meanwhile, the blog goes as far as calling the heart a biological bridge, where the divine word is uttered into matter. If we follow that blog's metaphor to its logical conclusion, does that mean our soul, our core consciousness, is physically trapped inside our chest cavity, like a ghost in a fleshy cage?
That is a crucial distinction to make, and the ancient Vedanta texts are extremely careful to prevent exactly that philosophical error.
So I'm not a ghost in a cage.
No. The true self, the Atman, is all-pervading. It is exactly like space. Think about a coffee cup. Space isn't trapped inside the cup. Rather, the cup exists within space.
Oh.
If you smash the cup, you don't break the space inside it. You are not physically located in your heart. Rather, the tradition says the mind, which is a subtle processing instrument, resides in the physical heart region, and consciousness is reflected there.
Ah, okay. Like the sun reflecting in a puddle on the sidewalk. The sun isn't physically trapped inside the puddle.
Exactly. The blog's poetry about biological vortices is beautiful, but you must remember, you are the vast theater, not the microscopic biological event happening inside the theater.
That is a great way to put it.
If you think your core self is physically located inside a pumping organ, you are limiting the limitless. You are mistaking the tiny reflection in the puddle for the blazing sun in the sky.
Okay, if I'm the water, and the water is invisible and all-pervading, how do I even know it's real?
What do you mean?
Well, I can touch my physical body. I can feel my heart beating. I can't touch pure, all-pervading consciousness. Does this water have actual properties we can define, or are we just talking about an empty philosophical void?
We are definitely not talking about a void. The texts use a very specific three-part term to define the actual properties of this consciousness. Sat-Chit-Ananda.
Sat-Chit-Ananda.
It translates to existence, consciousness, and bliss. And it is incredibly vital to understand that these aren't three different ingredients mixed together in a bowl. It is one single reality viewed from three different cognitive angles.
The sources use the analogy of a clear crystal here, which I love.
Oh, that's a perfect one.
Right. Like if you hold up a perfect crystal, you can describe it as colorless, transparent, and sparkling. Those aren't three different separable parts of the crystal. You can't scrape the sparkle off the transparent.
Exactly.
They're just three ways of articulating the exact same object.
Let's unpack each one, because this answers your question about whether this is just a void. First is Sat, which is existence, but not existence as a temporary fleeting state. It is eternal, independent I-S-ness.
Like the screen we talked about.
Exactly. Going back to our screen analogy, it is the fundamental reality that allows the illusion of the movie to exist. Then you have Chit, which is consciousness. It is the self-luminous revealer.
The light.
Think of it as the invisible light in a room that illuminates all the furniture, allowing you to see the chairs and tables. But the light is completely distinct from the wooden furniture it reveals.
And then there's Ananda, bliss.
Mm-hmm.
But the traditional sources are so incredibly careful to point out that this is not a passing human emotion.
That is such an important point.
Right. It's not the spike of dopamine you get from eating a massive slice of chocolate cake or the thrill of winning a game. Experiential happiness in our daily lives is graded.
Mm-hmm.
You can be a little bit happy or extremely happy, and it always fades.
Always.
But Ananda is non-graded. The text calls it purnatvam, which means limitless fullness. It's the complete absolute absence of lack.
This actually diagnoses the root of all human struggle. Every single action you and I take is essentially a blind, desperate search for that Ananda.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We just mistakenly look for it in external objects. We look for it in promotions, in relationships, in buying new things.
It makes me think about how frantic we are in our daily lives. Like, if you are seeking ultimate fulfillment in a new job title, or by checking off a to-do list, you are acting exactly like a wave frantically searching the ocean, asking all the other fish, where can I find wetness? I need to be wet.
Ah, yes.
The wave is wetness.
That is the ultimate realization of the tradition. Sat is Chit, and Chit is Ananda. If you exist, and you are aware that you exist, you are inherently that limitless fullness.
That is wild.
Any sense of lack you feel is merely a superimposition. It's a psychological trick. You don't actually need to acquire happiness from the outside world. You just need to remove the mental obstructions that block it.
And the texts give names to those blocks, right?
They do. They identify these blocks as avidya, which is basic ignorance of your true nature, then raga, which is feverish attachment to things, and devesha, which is deep-seated aversion to things.
So all our daily stress, like chasing a promotion or avoiding a difficult coworker, is just us letting raga and devesha obscure the screen.
Exactly.
But this brings up a massive structural question. If we are this ever-present, self-luminous consciousness that never, ever turns off this constant Sat-Chit-Ananda, what happens when I go to sleep and completely black out every single night? Like, where does this supposedly eternal self-luminous light go when I am snoring and drooling on my pillow?
This brings us to one of the most profound counterintuitive paradigm shifts in the entire Advaita Vedanta tradition.
Okay, hit me.
We all hold this massive, unquestioned misconception about deep sleep, what the text calls susupti. We universally think of deep sleep as a blank void. We think of it as a total, absolute absence of experience.
Where you turn off and then 8 hours later you turn back on?
Exactly. But the core realization here is quite the opposite. Deep sleep is not the absence of experience, it is the experience of absence.
So what does this all mean? How does that actually work mechanically? Because experiencing absence sounds like a paradox.
To understand the mechanics, we have to look at the equipment of the human being. In the waking state, your gross physical body is highly active. When you enter deep sleep, the physical body goes offline.
Okay.
More importantly, your subtle body, which contains your mind, your raging ego, your memories, and your intellect, is resolved into a dormant, unmanifest state. The text calls what remains the causal body, the karana sarira.
Karana sarira. Okay.
Think of it like an enormous yes. Therefore, the object of your experience in that state is simply a homogeneous mass of potentiality. It is the literal thought of nothingness, which is called the abhava-vritti.
Okay, I have to jump in here because this is where the logic feels, well, a little flimsy to me. Let's use a modern medical example.
Right.
When someone is put under general anesthesia for surgery, their brain is chemically shut down. Time disappears completely. They don't experience a restful peace. They're just gone, and then they wake up confused.
Sure.
If my mind is completely folded up into a seed during deep sleep, and I am essentially experiencing nothingness, how can anyone possibly prove that the I, the consciousness, is actually still there observing it, rather than just being chemically knocked out like anesthesia?
The proof is stunningly simple and impossible to refute. It's memory.
Memory.
Memory. Let's contrast anesthesia with deep sleep. When you wake up in the morning from a natural deep sleep, you stretch, you smile, and you say, wow, I slept so soundly. I blacked out entirely. I knew absolutely nothing, and it was wonderfully peaceable.
Yeah, that's the best feeling.
But how can you confidently declare that? You cannot remember an event that you were not present for. There must have been a conscious witness, what the text called the saksi, present and wide awake during the entire night to actively record that nothingness.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me process that.
Take a second, yeah.
Because I can wake up and remember that there was a peaceful absence of things. I had to be there watching the absence. If I wasn't there, there would be no memory of the peace.
Exactly. The fact that you remember the profound peace of abscess proves your continuous presence. You were there, whole and complete, quietly witnessing the blissful relief of having no limited ego identity for 8 hours.
The light was on. There was just no furniture in the room to illuminate.
That is exactly it.
Recognizing that we are this unbroken, eternal witness, even in our deepest, darkest, unconscious moments, is incredibly profound. But, our sources are very quick to warn that this exact realization leads to the ultimate trap for modern spiritual seekers.
Oh, the biggest trap.
Right. Once you hear this, the immediate instinct is to try and chase this realization. You think, I need to meditate for 12 hours a day so I can feel the absolute bliss of deep sleep while I'm wide awake.
And that trap brings us to the critical difference between intellectual understanding, chasing mystical experiences, and what the texts beautifully call knowing via being.
Knowing via being.
Yeah. The fundamental error seekers make is treating the self as just another object that you can acquire and experience.
Because you can't experience the experiencer.
Right. Think of the physical eye. An eye can see the walls, the floor, the ceiling, the sky. It can see everything in the universe, but it absolutely cannot see itself.
Unless it has a mirror.
Exactly. To see itself, it needs a mirror. You, as pure, formless awareness, cannot objectify yourself to look at yourself. So trying to meditate your way into a hallucinatory experience of the self is a structural impossibility.
But if I can't experience it, do I just have to blindly believe it? Is this just an ancient version of asking the listener to have blind faith? Because honestly, that feels like a letdown after all this logic.
Not at all. It's not about blind faith. It's about removing ignorance through a very specific tool. The traditional teachings act as a word mirror.
A word mirror.
Yes. They aren't meant to give you a new psychedelic state of mind. They are meant to logically strip away everything you are not. The sources use the classic rope snake analogy to explain this shift from blind belief to true knowledge.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you are walking down a dark path at night. You see a coiled shape on the ground and your brain screams, "Snake!" You are terrified, your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat.
Naturally.
Then someone walks up and shines a bright flashlight on the ground, and you clearly see it's just a piece of discarded rope.
The fear instantly vanishes, your heart rate drops.
Exactly. Now, intellectual understanding or blind faith is someone just telling you it's a rope while it's still pitch black. You might believe them logically, you might trust them, but your body is still tense. You are still braced for a venomous bite.
I haven't seen it yet.
Right. True conviction, which the text calls nistharaṅgaḥ, is the moment the flashlight hits the object and you actually see the rope. That direct seeing instantly and irrevocably dissolves the fear.
Wow.
You don't need to force yourself to have a mystical, euphoric experience of ropeness to stop being afraid. The clear, undeniable knowledge itself is what liberates you from the terror.
That is knowing via being. Your existence is self-evident. You don't need a tool to know you exist. You just are.
Exactly.
But let me ask you this on behalf of anyone listening who has spent years meditating or seeking. Does this mean we need to stop all of it? Do we stop meditating, stop seeking spiritual growth, and just resign ourselves to the fact that ordinary, mundane life is all there is? Just do the laundry, pay taxes, sit in traffic, and that's it.
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it's not about grim resignation at all. All experience is sublime, deep meditations, moments of profound peace in nature, and even everyday joys and agonizing sorrows, they're perfectly fine.
Okay, so we don't have to throw them out.
Not at all. They are the beautiful raw material for inquiry. But desperately chasing after spiritual highs is just spiritual materialism. You're just trying to acquire a shinier, more impressive object for the ego to brag about.
Ouch. But true.
Right. True enlightenment is simply the abiding, unshakable knowledge that you are already the water. You are already free. And what's amazing is that once that conviction lands, once you see the rope, it completely transforms how you relate to every subsequent experience.
You still do the laundry.
You still chop wood, you still do the laundry, but you do it knowing you are the infinite silent ocean, not a fragile, isolated whirlpool terrified of disappearing.
Okay, let's bring all of this together for the listener. We started with the ultimate mission, to find out who you really are when the diagnostic X-ray breaks down.
And we broke it down pretty far.
We did. And what we've discovered is that you are not the constantly changing biodata of your age, your job title, or your societal roles.
Nettie, not this, not this.
Exactly. You are not the temporary whirlpool of your physical body, no matter how beautifully fractal and biologically miraculous its heart is. And you are certainly not the frantic mind desperately trying to meditate its way into a mystical experience.
None of the above.
You are the continuous self-luminous water itself. You are the screen. You are Sat-Chit-Ananda. Existence, consciousness, and limitless bliss.
You are the knowing being. You are the silent presence that seamlessly allows the entire chaotic movie of your life to play out without ever being harmed by the fire on the film or made wet by the rain.
We want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over, drawing straight from the core of this deep dive. Think about the exact moment right after this audio ends.
Just a few seconds from now.
Right. As you reach up to take out your earbuds or as you swipe to turn off your screen, an urge or a thought will inevitably arise in your mind, telling you what you need to do next. It will say, I need to check my email, or I should go make lunch.
It always does.
Always. Instead of instantly identifying with that thought as you, instead of jumping right into the raging stream of the verb, what happens if you just pause and watch it form?
Just watch that thought arise and dissolve like a tiny, temporary whirlpool appearing on the surface of your own infinite silent water.
And as you watch it spin and vanish, ask yourself, who is the one watching? When we began, we talked about how comforting a clean X-ray is, how we love a precise diagnosis of a broken bone because it gives us a neat, tidy label to hold on to.
We love the labels.
But maybe the muddy waters of human identity aren't so muddy after all. When you use the ancient logic to strip away the body, the mind, and the ego, you are left with the ultimate clean diagnosis. You exist, and you're intimately aware that you exist. The X-ray is perfectly clear. It just shows the light.